Hello, I'm Victoria Pearce. I'm the Director of Endangered Heritage and I run a lab that looks after people's artwork and heritage artefacts, nostalgia, sentimental items. We look after all sorts of things for our large institutions and museums, but also for families. But there's an awful lot that we can't do, and that's completely unscramble the egg. We need you to be looking after your things, so we've created a set of tutorials so that you can actually do the best by the things that you care about for yourself at home. Let's talk a little moment about textiles, because textiles for some reason are tortured by many framers. Sometimes the acidity inside a frame can be so bad that the imprint and the light damage coming through, the light you can see on that card here, the light catalyzes the acidity breakdown of the cardboard and the materials, and so where there's more light getting through, the cardboard's becoming more oxidized, more brown, and we're left with the embroidery outline where the light didn't get through the object. But from this, we can see how much the embroidery copped in terms of light exposure and damage and fading. So let's talk about textiles, because they are the most sensitive thing in any collection. A collection has all sorts of materials that might be in frames, but textiles are the most fragile. Textiles also are some of the most difficult things to mount or frame. And I have seen all sorts of things. One of the things that disturbs me the most as a textile specialist is that framers tend to stretch and torture the fibers. Now, if you're an embroiderer, if you make things, you know that at the end of every session, you undo the tension and you let the fibers relax. So why do we then hand that object across to a framer to have the bejeebers stretched out of them? It doesn't make any sense. So I've also got here one that was framed by a little artwork that was framed by a regular framer, and this is the most common torture that happens to a textile. It gets laced up on the back, really tight. All of the fibers are pulled. All of the fibers, as you see, are really tensioned to make it as flat as possible. One of the problems with this is that the acidity from the timber and what's in the frame causes wood burn, and it bleeds into, effectively is absorbed by the object itself on the very edge. And eventually those fibers snap and leave us with a very small object to reframe. So in conservation framing, we never lace anything, we never stretch anything, and we never torture it. It's not going to jump off the wall and throttle you when you sleep. It just needs to be cared for respectfully. For that end, when we do mount a textile, and here's one that I've prepared earlier, I've always wanted to say that. We have a very large area around the edge that isn't never going to be in contact with the timber. And then when we make a mat, it can either cover, and this is going to be an archival mat, and I'll talk about more of that in a minute, or it doesn't need to cover the object, depending on what the client wants. But either way, the next time it gets framed, maybe in 10 years or 20 years, the next time it gets framed, this object can go onto a fresh piece of board, but it's not going to be made smaller by the acidity that's actually accumulated inside the frame. So let's have a look at another couple of textiles objects. Again, not stretched, not under any tension. In fact, you can see that this is really quite loose. It's not going to go anywhere on a frame. It's going to go, it's fine. And it gives the fibers the opportunity with the change of temperature to expand and contract. The same as with this one. And you can see these pockets are quite different. And in another one of our tutorials, I'll be talking about conservation washing and cleaning. One has had a conservation clean, one hasn't. But in terms of framing and their mounting, they have actually been mounted quite loose. They're not going to go anywhere. We're here to help you look after your heritage at Endangered Heritage. So follow us on our website, for updates. You'll find that there's a link to insects in our disaster recovery area. And look out for more of our videos on disaster recovery and other problems that you can experience in your collection.